Hello guys! Today we're gonna learn about simple but very efficient trick how you can win not a pawn or a piece but a queen right in the beginning of the game. And you'll see how that method can work in different chess opening. The thing is, you can capture the queen on its own square, d8 or d1 for white, before it makes a single move. So let's go to the example. And what we're gonna talk about today is about capturing the queen on its own square d8 before it makes a single move, by luring out the king, defending this queen, to f7 weak point. So let's check the first example in the Sicilian opening. Sicilian opening starts with e4, c5, and here, instead of natural knight f3, which everybody does automatically, just have fun and try to play a gambit style d4, cd, c3. It's theory, it's gambit more. It's not just a random pieces moving. It's really theory. Sicilian opening. dc. We take knight c3. Black develop their knight to c6. We develop our knight to f3, and it's normal gambit style. We sacrifice the central pawn, but we have these open diagonals for bishop. We have these all development advantages. We have this d file. So this normal gambit development advantages. Black also really want to develop their knight to f6, but they're afraid of e5 movement, because we can move it with the tempo to the knight, right? They really don't want it, so they want to play d6 for sure, to take the control over the e5 pawn. Looks naturally, right? We develop our bishop to c4, why to c4? Of course, it's a key point for the bishop. We pressure into this f7 weak point. You noticed it already. And here, black continue their development, knight f6. They think there is no e5 move anymore because they prevented it with d6 pawn, right? But apparently it is. e5. Black just think it's blinder because they have two attacks to the pawn and they just take it, take, and take a little pause and find the trap. Yeah, sure, we're sacrificing the bishop to f7, we lure out the king, and we take the queen on d8 on its own square. The next opening we're gonna test our trick in will be the rare opening. We'll start the game with knight c3. Really, only 1% of games start like this, so black have no idea what it is. And it is one Goethe opening. Also, such openings are called like incorrect openings. If white played like this, black would rather move central pawns. It's naturally and correct. So d5 is really natural response, and we play e4. As the black have no idea what white want, they just want to train the central pawns, because trading central pawns is always fine. It's always a good idea to trade central pawns if you don't know the other plans. And we are not in a hurry to take back this pawn. We continue development. We put our bishop to c4 with a key point, as we know, to pressure f7. Black think, okay, they took the pawn, so now they just can defend it. Also developing their knight looks really natural. Developing knight, defending the pawn, they're okay. And here we move d3, suggesting trading this central pawn. Black really happy to trade it because they have this extra pawn, and they can just trade it and they shouldn't care of it anymore. They shouldn't defend it. They just have a pure extra pawn, ed. And again, we do not take it back, we continue development. Knight f3. Black are confused, they really think white going to give them every pawn, and they continue taking the pawns. dc, and here take a little pause, find the same trick. I think you found, right? Yeah, it's bishop f7, we lure out the king, and we take the queen again on d7 square. Let's move to the next opening. We start the game with a knight f3 move. This move, unlike the previous one, is the correct opening. It's really common. And black also want to respond with central pawns. So e5 is not an option because knight captures this square, d5 looks good. And here we play with the gambit style. By the way, this is called Zuckertort opening, and this is normal beginning, theoretical beginning. We play gambit style, we play e4. Black are happy to take it. Just imagine you play black, would you take it? I would take it for sure. We take it. White go knight g5, like they want to capture this pawn back. Black want to defend it. Again, this natural knight f6 development move defended this pawn. All is fine. And here we again put d3 pawn to trade it. Can you see this common idea in all these three examples? We sacrifice the central pawn in gambit style, and after that we put the next pawn to the exchange. Yes, the same here. Black are happy to exchange this pawn because they don't want to defend it anymore, they want to carry it anymore, they can just trade it and it's good for them. And here again we take it, developing the bishop. So let's look at the black position. They're really fine, everything is fine. They have just pure extra pawn, and the only thing annoying them is this knight, and they want to scare this away as fast as they can. h6. And here, instead of going back, what can we do? Just take a little pause and find the same idea trick, but in little bit different variation. Yes, it's knight f7. We sacrificing the knight, we lure out the king, and we made this bishop g6 check, don't letting the king go back to e8 to defend this queen, right? So they should take it, and we just take the queen again on the same d8 square. And the last example we're going to learn will be for black. As I told you, black also could implement this method, capturing white queen on d1, luring out the king to f2 point. And let's the queen's gambit, d4, d5, c4, and here black says, we will not accept your queen's gambit, we will give you our counter gambit instead. It's Albin gambit, e5. D is the correct move in this position. d4 plays black, a little bit more theory here. And here white immediately want to trade this powerful central pawn because we want to defend it, and it will be really strong here in the center. Here we have to make this bishop b4 check. It's also a theoretical check. Bishop d2, and here let's look what we have. We don't trade this bishop, we trade these pawns instead, because bishop cannot take it, it's like a pinned, but white can see they can just take this piece for free, right? They just take a bishop and think they have a piece up. And let's find the combination further. Yeah, sure, we take this f2 pawn, luring out the king, but you should say stop. We are not obliged to take this. We can move king e2, continue defending this queen. You're right, but what follows the next? We can take this knight, and we perform this pawn to be a knight, to make a check. White should take it, and, of course, bishop g4. Now we want this queen for sure on its own, d1 square. So this combination is a little bit more difficult, and Albin gambit is a little more difficult for learning, but it's really beautiful, right? And the very last example about this method, it's more like a joke based on psychological effect. When you play on d4, you can respond with e5 Anglon gambit, it's called. White would take for sure. We played bishop c5. You know why we play bishop c5? Of course, to pressure to f2. White developed their knight, knight f3. It's the most popular move in this position. And here again, we put another pawn to trade this central pawn. So we sacrifice the central pawn, and again, we suggest trade another pawn. White are happy to take it again, because they take an extra pawn, they don't want to defend it with all their pieces. But here's the important thing. When you play d6, before white starts their move, you should just touch this knight. If you play offline, just put your hand on this knight. If you play online, just make this pre-move, knight e7. The thing here is to make your opponent be sure that you're going to move knight e7. You should make your opponent believe it. If you play online, take it. If you play online, pre-move it. So after taking this pawn, your opponent will immediately see the response knight e7. Your opponent realizes it was pre-move, it was mistake pre-move, and just take it. And of course, again, going to get in the same trap. Bishop f2 check, queen d1. Yeah. I hope you like this simple trick, and I really wish you to implement it in your blitz games, in your offline games, and just write your comments if it works for you.